What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Adventure Outpost. In today's adventure, we are doing the companion video to my top 10 favorite actors and their best and worst movie. And today we're hitting you with my top 10 favorite actresses and their best and worst movie. Actresses, there's a lot more of the newer generation for actress-wise, not so much the older generation as it was with actors. I was a much bigger fan of old school actors back in the day with some contemporary ones, where in this one it's kind of reversed, and I'm a much bigger fan of the more contemporary actresses and not so much the old generation. There are a couple. It's a little evenly matched, but mostly more contemporary for this one. But we won't waste any more time. We'll just dive right into it because that's what you're here for. You just want to see the rankings. You don't want to hear me ramble on about pre-ramble stuff. So let's just dive right in with number 10 is where we're going to hit one of our only old school generation actresses to end up on this list, and that is Audrey Hepburn. She is an absolute classic, a gem. She perfected that like girl next door type persona. She was just so effortlessly watchable and entertaining. My least favorite movie of hers is actually her last movie she ever did. Most of her filmography is really great. She doesn't really have a bad movie in the lineup. This one is my least favorite one of hers simply because like there's not much for her to do in it, and it's kind of just like a their role, and that's the movie Always. She plays, I guess she's supposed to be like the persona of death that's there once Richard Dreyfuss dies in his plane crash. There's not really much for her to do in it, so it's kind of just like very bare bones. So it makes it like easily my least favorite performance of hers, just because there's not much there for her to do. Whereas all the rest of her performances in all of her other movies, from like Sabrina, Roman Holiday, all that stuff is just freaking phenomenal. My favorite movie of hers is actually a movie that I just watched not too long ago. I'm doing an A to Z rundown of movies I haven't seen in my collection that are thrillers. And so this was one of the ones that I watched in that thriller collection, and that is Wait Until Dark. This is my favorite Audrey Hepburn movie. She is phenomenal in this. She plays a blind woman living in an apartment that all of a sudden has to deal with these three criminals that show up that think she has a doll in her apartment that they want because there's drugs in it. It is so fucking good watching the terror build in her and just watching as the tension builds and builds and builds until the culmination of it. It is fucking unreal good. She's so great, and it plays a blind woman to perfection. Like, you buy it hook, line, and sinker, and the last like 20 minutes of this movie is freaking awesome. Special shout out also to Alan Arkin. I had never seen a movie where he was young. Everything I've seen in him was more his newer movies where he's like an old curmudgeon dude. But him as a young dude was fucking terrifying in this movie. So kudos to you, bro. Number 9 is another phenomenal actress. Everything she's in is always interesting. She's always picking very interesting roles. Always gives it her all. And that is Nicole Kidman. She is just freaking great. So many great movies of hers. Freaking love so much stuff that she's done. But easily this was one where my least favorite movie of hers was pretty easy to pick. Because of the movies that I've seen of hers, there was only one that really had me like super bored and falling asleep, and that is The Peacemaker. Which I was shocked about. You know, it's an action movie, 90s action movie. I love 90s action movies. It's freaking got George Clooney and Nicole Kidman in it. Like, what more? This looked like a slam dunk for me when I finally found it. And then I watched it and I was bored to tears. It's just super boring. Very disappointing movie right there. But my favorite Nicole Kidman movie, this one was so easy. When I was compiling the list, I didn't even have to look at the rest of her filmography because I just knew this one was my favorite. And then when I backed it up against all the movies in her filmography, I was just proven correct. I was like, yep, this is the best movie she's ever done. And that's Cold Mountain. This movie's fucking incredible. I love the shit out of this movie. I watch this movie all the time. It's just so freaking good. It is a great Civil War movie. It's a great drama. There's romance in there. Everything you want in a movie, like this movie's got. It's that fucking good. I want to watch this again right now. Where's my 4K for this? I want 4K Cold Mountain already. Give it to me. Give me the goods. Number 8, I feel like, is an underrated actress. I mean, she's been in a shitload of stuff from the 80s, 90s, even still today, but I feel like whenever people talk about the greatest and the best, like you don't really see her name pop up too many times, but she's definitely up there for contention because she's a phenomenal actress and she's always putting in interesting performances, and that's Susan Sarandon. She is a phenomenal actress. There's just something about her that I love. I just can always gravitate towards her. I can always watch a Susan Sarandon movie. My least favorite Susan Sarandon movie is actually the last movie that I've watched. I watched the other night, again in my thriller collection, and that is The January Man. Now look at this. You see this front cover, this back cover, just very ominous looking cover. And then the back talks about a guy, a cop, Kevin Kline, who is the only one who can return to his job and find this vicious serial killer. This sounds like, all right, a pretty good 90s thriller. It's a comedy. It's a comedy thriller. It was unreal. This movie has no idea what it wants to be. It's all over the place. The opening scene is actually pretty decent in setting the tone of like this really belly and like the thriller aspect of the movie. For the opening scene sets it perfectly. I was like, all right, like this is gonna be a solid movie. And then it just bounces to just this screwball dialogue that's it's bizarre. It was a movie that almost was like has to be seen to be believed, because it's just like, who the hell thought this was a movie that should be made like this? It's so peculiar, and the fact that they got so many people for it. Look, Kevin Kline, Susan Sarandon, Mary Elizabeth Mastrantonio, that's a mouthful, Harvey Keitel, Danny Aiello, like it's got a cast. Like how they convinced all of them to do that, I'll never know. It is fucking brutal. But again, my favorite Susan Sarandon movie. This was an easy one to pick. Nothing else really came close. I saw this movie when I was in high school, in my government class, and I fucking loved it. Immediately was like, we got to get this movie, have it in the collection, watch it a bunch of times. It's such a good fucking drama, and that's Dead Man Walking. She is a nun that becomes a spiritual advisor to this guy who's on death row, and kind of helps him like make peace with his self before he's going to be brought to death row. And it is just, oh my god, this movie, this is a phenomenal movie. If you haven't seen this movie, you absolute must watch. It's a great fucking drama. Number 7 is probably the most decorated actress awards-wise, and that is Frances McDormand. She is another one, just consistently always picking very interesting roles, always doing something new and exciting. She is a freaking powerhouse in every performance that she does. So it's no wonder that she's got 3 Academy Awards to her name, right? That she's the Daniel Day-Lewis of actresses. My least favorite movie of hers, that is absolutely easy to choose from. That is Aeon Flux. The movie's terrible. It's just one of those like really terrible by the numbers mid-2000s movies like that. You're just like, this is fucking brutal. I don't know why she chose to do it. Probably just for the paycheck, which can't blame her. Favorite movie of Frances McDormand? That's a tough one. She's in a lot of good stuff. She just put out The Tragedy of Macbeth. She was great in. I guess the 2 big ones obviously would be Fargo, or the one that I actually picked, which is 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. She is fucking so good in this movie. She is a powerhouse in this movie. This movie falls apart without her. It's just so good. It's such a good drama. It's a good dark drama, dark comedy. Like I wouldn't say it's just straight up a comedy. It's a drama that has these really like undercurrent comedic moments in it. That's just like, it's like absurdist comedy in a sense, where you're just like, this is out of control. That this is like, you're just like laughing hysterically, but you're like, my god, like this is, it's so good. You just got to see this movie. If you haven't seen this movie, you're sleeping on it. You need to get out. You need to go see it. It's a fucking classic. It is amazing. Number 6 is probably the world's collective greatest actress, and that's Meryl Streep, the Streeper. You can't go a year without this woman just powerhousing through something. She is in everything. She's like the Samuel L. Jackson of actresses. She's just like in everything you see. She's always bringing the A game. She's phenomenal. My least favorite movie of Meryl Streep's that I've seen is Lions for Lambs. This movie is just boring as shit. And the fact that it's like a 92-minute movie, but it makes it feel like 2 hours is torturous. It's sacrilegious. It's the number one sin you can make in a movie. So this one's just rough. It's just really boring. It's just not exciting. You're just waiting for it to be over. Definitely one of her worst efforts. To me, of what I've seen, that's her worst effort in my eyes. Her best movie, in my opinion, again, there's so many you can choose from. There's Sophie's Choice, Out of Africa. There's so many movies you can go for her that I would be like, fair. It's a great pick. My pick, however, is Kramer versus Kramer. This is just a phenomenally well-acted movie. This is a movie that lives and dies on its performances. And Meryl Streep especially is just phenomenally good in this movie. I love it. It's a tough movie to watch. Obviously, because especially if you've been through divorce. Not that that's a problem for me, even though my parents are divorced, it doesn't make this movie a problem to watch. It's just an intense movie at times. The acting performances are fucking powerhouse in it. But it's a great fucking movie. If you haven't seen it, you should absolutely watch it and add it to your collection. Whee. Number 5, we're at the halfway point. This is actually my fiance's favorite actress. For me, she just lands at number 5, but she's still phenomenally talented, phenomenally great. She owned the 90s, one of the best to ever do it, and that's Julia Roberts. She's a freaking classic. Everything she's in touches gold. So simply, of course, my least favorite movie of hers is one that's not necessarily bad. It's just my least favorite of her movies, and it's kind of boring. It puts me to sleep all the time. Mona Lisa Smile. I've only ever seen it twice. But it just both times bored the shit out of me. The first time I watched through it, I was just bored as all hell. And then I gave it a second watch to try and, give a little redemption for Julia, but I couldn't even finish it. I was just like, I got no time in my life to rewatch this movie again. So it's one of those. This one's just not for me. It's not that it's terrible. It's just one of those movies. It's just not for me. It's not for TJ. My favorite movie of hers actually is a movie that I only saw for the first time like 2 months ago. It's one I slept on. I don't like. Sometimes the gems slip through and you don't catch them. But I watched it on the plane ride home from Aruba, and I was blown away. I fucking loved it. She's so freaking good in it, and that's Erin Brockovich. She is just phenomenal in this movie. Like this is a perfect awards movie for an acting performance. Like she just acts the shit out of this movie. It's so freaking good. I love it. I mean, she's got so many good ones she's another one that there's like a plethora of different movies you can choose as your favorite for hers, and I would be like, respect, that's a good choice. For me, Erin Brockovich is the one that does it. Number 4 is a newer actress to hit the block, but I'm in love with her. She's so freaking good in everything she's in. She never gives a bad performance. It's always interesting. And I love that I'm getting to watch her career right now from the beginning for the most part. She's just phenomenally talented. And that's Rebecca Ferguson. She's incredible. If you don't know who that is, you're a clown. Get yourself together, figure it out, look up her stuff, watch her movies. She is great. Mission Impossible movies. She was in The Greatest Showman, all this great stuff. She is phenomenal. My least favorite movie of hers is easily Men in Black International. It's not like the worst thing you've ever seen. It's watchable. It's just like when you compare it with the rest of the Men in Black movies that are out there, you're just like, this just pales in comparison. It's trying too hard. It's all over the place. But Rebecca's great in it, so it's worth watching just for the Rebecca Ferguson performance. And I know I'm biased, being like, Rebecca was great in Men in Black International, but she was, I promise you. And then my favorite movie of hers, this was a tough one, obviously because she was in both Mission Impossible movies, Rogue Nation and Fallout, which are some of the best action movies ever made. But when you look at those movies, she's phenomenal in them, but that's all Tom Cruise's game. So I had to look elsewhere. And my favorite movie that has probably her best performance to date, where she's just terrifying but captivating, just an absolute menacingly beautiful terror, and that's Dr. Sleep. She is so freaking good in this movie. She plays the villain, and she's just freaking terrifying throughout this movie. There's a scene in the middle of the movie that I won't spoil, where they attack a certain person, and it is bone chilling. This is easily her best performance, and she's just so fucking good in it. If you haven't seen Dr. Sleep, which I know it fell in under the radar, a lot of people didn't go see it when it was in theaters, and that's a disservice to this movie because this movie is phenomenal. I actually like this movie more than I like The Shining. So yeah, get out and give this movie a shot if you haven't seen it. Number 3 is another contemporary actress, definitely newer in the game, but she is one of the greatest to ever do it. She was in both of the 2 highest grossing movies of all time, so that only goes to show you, not that that's indicative of how good your performance is, because you can just be in the right movie at the right time, but she is a powerhouse. Everything she's in is great. I think she's phenomenal in everything she's in. She's always doing interesting stuff. The fact that she is gorgeous in any color that she's in is a testament to how beautiful of a person this woman is and how talented of an actress she is, and that's Zoe Saldana. She is an absolute freaking phenomenal actress. Everything she's in I've enjoyed, even like terrible movies like The Losers and stuff like that I've still really enjoyed simply because she's in it. She's one of those actresses that can elevate bad material simply because she's that good. And I freaking love her. My least favorite movie of hers is Vantage Point. She's, I think, like a small supporting part in this movie, but it was tough to find like a bad, because again, she's someone that just elevates things, but this is one where just like not much of a role for her, so Vantage Point hits it as my least favorite of her movies. My favorite of her movies is a tough one. She's in a lot of stuff, you know. She's got the Star Trek movies. Not that I really like those that much, but it's big movies of hers. Avatar, all the Marvel stuff she's in. She's been in so much stuff, it's really hard to figure out like what's your favorite of hers, but I'm gonna go with simply the first Guardians of the Galaxy. This was just such an out of left field thing that you didn't expect to be how it is. She is great in it, just pulling in this fiery performance as Gamora. She's just absolutely phenomenal. Really, I mean, you could do this or the second one. Really, any performance with her as Gamora has been really good, but I feel like this first one was just like, since it was so new and fresh, is like where she really shined the most. I would guess either this one or Infinity War is where she has the most to do as Gamora, but I'm going to give this one the edge just because she's really freaking great in this. Now we're up to our top 2. Now, just like my top 10 favorite actors, the top 2 was a tale of 2 Toms. My top 2 for actresses is a tale of 2 Cates. And we start with my number 2 pick, and that is Cate Blanchett. She is just incredible. Everything she's in is gold. She never puts in a bad performance. She's always interesting, always captivating. She is one of the best to ever do it. I love so much of what she's in. I'm trying to be, it was tough to pick. It was easy to pick the worst movie of hers, because even though she's good in it, it's a terrible fucking movie. The best was hard to pick from her, because I didn't just want to go with like, because obviously the best movie of what she's been in is Lord of the Rings, but that's not so much her movie. There's not really a lot of performance for her to shine in, so I wanted to go elsewhere. And I think I finally found it. It's a movie out of left field. I don't think it's a movie that most people would pick as their favorite Cate Blanchett movie, but I'm going to go with it. But we're going to start with our worst Cate Blanchett movie, to me, and that's Ocean's 8. I think she's good in it, even though she's basically just playing Brad Pitt's character from the Ocean's movie. I still think she's just phenomenal, and I just love. She's another one of those actresses that just elevates material simply because of how good she is. It's just that this movie is brutally bad and has no reason to exist. So that's my least favorite of hers. Now, my favorite of hers. Anyone who knows me knows that one of my favorite genres is Westerns. I am a huge Western fan. So my favorite Cate Blanchett performance is The Missing. This movie is really freaking good. This is another movie I think was slept on by people. Not many people know about it. Not many people talk about it. It is a great freaking Western with her, Tommy Lee Jones, Evan Rachel Wood. It's really freaking good. Directed by Ron Howard, too. This is another one. It's a Ron Howard movie not a lot of people talk about, but they should, because it's really underrated and it's really freaking good. It's a phenomenal Western. She puts in a powerhouse performance in it, and it is well worth the watch. So get your ass out there and watch it. But there can only be one. She's been my favorite actress ever since I first saw her in Titanic. I love her to death. Everything she touches is amazing. I would die by this woman. And obviously, my number 1 is Kate Winslet. She is incredible. She's she's the perfect actress. She's so good at playing vulnerable. She can play anything. Vulnerable, strong-willed. Like she can do anything. Drama, comedy, romantic comedies, everything. Like she's such a fucking good actress. She's another one. And she'll elevate terrible material. She's just so immersive into this performance. She is fucking incredible. I love her to death. She's my favorite. It was easy to pick my least favorite movie of hers, and that's movie 43. I don't have it because why would I want to own that movie? I mean, I will have to get it eventually simply because I saw it in theaters, so I have to own it for the collection, but until I can find it for like a penny, I'm not buying it because that movie's that bad. I don't know how she got roped into that movie. I don't know how anybody who was in that movie got roped into being in that movie, but it is rough. My favorite movie of hers, that was a tough one to pick. She's got so many good freaking movies. Like, do you go Titanic? Do you go Sense and Sensibility? No, that wasn't the one she was in. Pride and Prejudice? I don't know. She was in one of those old style period dramas. I forget which one though. But you can go Revolutionary Road. You can go The Reader. You can go Finding Neverland. Like, she's got so many good movies. The one I'm going to pick though is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. This movie is fucking perfect to me. I love it to death. It's so freaking clever and unique. It's such a peculiar romantic comedy style movie. It is just absolutely incredible. She is phenomenal in it. Jim Carrey's amazing in it too. It's one of my favorite movies I've ever seen. It's so freaking good. And this is perfect. This is perfect cinema right here. So watch it if you haven't. I'm very interested to see the next Avatar now because Kate Winslet's in it, and she broke the record for holding your breath underwater from Tom Cruise. Like, if you're breaking records from Tom Cruise, that's why she's a fucking gen. That's why she's the greatest, the best of all time. She's phenomenal. I fucking love her. There's nothing she can't do. And that's the list. Top 10 actresses, man. A lot of fucking good actresses in there. Everyone in there, just powerhouse performances. Most of them, they don't really put in a bad performance. They just get put in movies that are don't measure up to the level of their talent sometimes. But that happens. Sometimes, you get a dud. Sometimes you just get put in. Not everything you can be is going to be a home run. Sometimes you're going to hit a single. Sometimes you're going to get struck out. Sometimes you're going to get thrown out running to the base. But everything they've done has always been interesting. I've seen the majority of the movies that they've all been in, and I've liked the majority of them. These are just simply the ones that were my least favorite in the bunch. But it happens. They've got way more better and good and great movies than they do bad movies. So that just shows a level to the testament of how good they are as actresses. But that'll do it for us here today at The Outpost. Until next time, you have been you, I have been me. These have been movies. And now go get yourself out there and watch some of these movies if you haven't seen them. Watch them all. All the best movies you should absolutely have seen. And if you haven't, I don't want to see you back here until you watch them. So go on, fly, go watch.